everybody. Thank you for being here. We're so excited to talk to the women of The Good Doctor about the most impactful storylines from the show, what it's like working in front of the camera, behind the camera. So without further ado, let me introduce executive producer Erin Gunn. All right, next up, you know her as Dr. Audrey Lim, Christina Chang. As Dr. Morgan Resnick, Fiona Gubelmann. And Dr. Jordan Allen, Bria Samoné Henderson. It's a step. Where's that handrail?
That took some yoga to get up on stage.
Summertime, working out.
Well, ladies, it's so great to have you here for the first time at the festival, right? Any of y'all been attended or anything before?
First time.
All right, well, it's very exciting. We have a lot of TV nerds here, so get ready. Maybe we'll have some time at the end to open it up for questions. But let's first talk about what has kept the show so engaged for 6 years, the continuation of amazing storylines. What do you think?
Is this on?
Dr. Lim.
Okay, I know.
Is it Dr. Lim?
It starts with the writing. It all starts with a good script. So, so go WGA. Now we can move on. No, it starts with a good script. It starts with a good writer's room. It starts with David and Liz in that room and thinking about these characters very deeply and individually. I mean, I feel like in the early days of the show, we often led with where is Sean? What is Sean's journey? And we obviously still do that. The show is, through the lens so much of Dr. Sean Murphy. But, we sit in that room and we arc out every single one of these characters and think deeply about where are they in their lives? Where would they be right now? What are those first 5 episodes? And then what's and so it's a thoughtful room thinking about these characters and where we want them to go and what kind of journey we want to see them on. And it starts with good, strong scripts, and then we've got these ladies who deliver.
Well, what do you think are the most impactful storylines of the entire run of the show, whether it's your storyline or another storyline on the show?
I mean, I feel like we've kind of all said this before, but not so much as a storyline, but I think so much of the message of like overcoming things and hope and optimism that the show provides. So I think that ultimately is coming from Dr. Sean Murphy, but I think that that's something that all people can relate to, especially the underdog, and whether or not you have someone in your life that has autism or is on the spectrum, it's still something that you can connect to because everyone has struggles and everyone has things they have to overcome. So I think that is a strong message that people connect to.
I think hope and heart are the two sort of words that we also use to answer your first question as well, why it remains so successful. I think the storylines are, sort of the structure, the design of the show is usually 2 medical stories an episode, but they weave them so beautifully with also those of us that play the doctors. So you're watching oftentimes, what is happening with the medical case is often also mirroring what's happening, with our lead characters as well, and that's a nicely woven dance.
And to piggyback, sorry,
Shut up.
We're trying to do this like improv thing where it's like, and now. So like the story has hope. Yes. The story has like the hope and the heart in it, but also it makes people cry every week. And like I like to cry. And so they keep coming back to feel something, which the show provides. But I think also representation is what keeps people locked in, what also like garners more attention and more audiences, that even beyond the storyline, when you see someone that is like you, when you see someone that reminds you of a family member, that keeps you invested in the story as well. Like I think what keeps me going and what like grounds my purpose on the show as well with my character is that I see so many Black women like tweeting me or DMing me saying like this is their first time they're seeing someone that looks like them, like from how my character is presented, and like that just warms my heart and it keeps me going because it's like beyond like the Sean being the center and the heart and the heartbeat of the show, like we all play our parts as well. And if you start to reflect the world more in TV, the world's going to come. So I think that's what the show also does, just in the presence of who's on the show, like seeing us too. Yeah.
Well, I would like to say it's a good cry. I can at least function after the show. You know, there's some of those shows where I'm hysterical afterwards. So this is a good cry. I like it. Well, I do want to talk to each of you ladies about your storyline in season 6. So, Christina, let's talk about what you've been through and the paralyzation and the life-changing.
Yes. The first half of season 6, I was a wheelchair-bound, a wheelchair user, and personally, that was a really interesting, informative journey, learning about from somebody who was really great with teaching me that he got into an accident and he had the exact same injury that Dr. Lim had. So it was a really interesting journey learning with him emotionally what that was for him. And I mean, I loved that storyline, and I love that even though they eventually did a surgery and my character got back to walking, that, you know, we held on a little bit to her feelings about that and her relationship with Dr. Sean Murphy and how that affected her relationship with Dr. Glassman. Interestingly, it brought them closer. I think Dr. Lim's been through a lot of challenges.
She has.
Dr. Lim needs something
trauma.
happening.
She needs a spa day.
Or a trip to Paris.
Or a trip to
with
Paris.
Dr. Resnick.
Oh. That's coming in season 7, right?
On location.
Sure. Yes.
Location.
Yeah.
We'll be filming in Paris. But I mean, as far as how the journey that I took on that, I love it. I love everything the writers give me. I welcome more, you know, more heartache, more challenges.
Give me
more,
the trauma. Drag me through the mud, please.
Yeah, I mean, is there specifically something, you know, that I want to see happen in season, or is that another?
We'll get there. Well, Fiona, obviously your character also had big changes this season.
Yes, yeah, she had, can I talk about them? I mean, I know it's aired, but I just didn't know I don't know. Okay. No, this was a big season for Dr. Resnick, especially because at the end she ends up getting back together with Dr. Park and she's starting to adopt a child. And so that was a really cool journey to get to go on. I mean, I'm obsessed with Morgan. She's like my favorite character I've ever gotten to play. And so it's really fun to get to play her because she just has so much going on and so many, like, she's kind of, you always get to know this like new side to her. And so there's so many layers, and it was a really great season. Especially working with Will Yoon-lee, who plays Dr. Park. I mean, like, he's one of my very close friends, and like we have so much fun just bantering, and it's so easy. And so that's been I've really enjoyed it. And yeah, and then I get to play with cute babies on set, so I really can't complain. A lot of them. One time there was one day because we were shooting, like, it was like a 12-hour camera day, so they had to have 4 babies there to play one baby. And they're so cute.
Well, and in the finale of last season, obviously a very pivotal moment with your relationship, but also just having to make kind of a life-saving decision. So can you speak to that?
Sure. Yeah, I feel like for Dr. Jordan, we learned a lot about her celibacy journey, which was really fun to play. I felt like more connected to her in that way with my own personal story too. So that was like fun to like see a woman talk about like dating in that way. And then, you know, we had this Dr. Perez roller coaster, and it was like a will they, won't they? They won't, they won't, they will, they will, they won't, they won't. He's dying. No, no, he's alive now. So I think every time I got the script, I was like, okay, what's my, okay, still, no, cool. But it was fun playing the roller coaster, and Brandon is a great guy, beautiful heart, so sweet. And so I think some of the scenes that I enjoyed sinking my teeth in were like some of those things that you could see past like Jordan's hard exterior. Like she's not just this professional woman, but she has a heart, and there's a soft parts of her. And I think seeing that character, seeing who that woman is play some of those softer, quieter moments was fun for me, but it was also necessary to show as well on TV too. Because it is easy to get into like professional woman, hard shell, and like that's all you know of them, but they break. You know, they can crumble, and just also as an actor being able to play some of those notes were great too. And then also like my grandma came on this season, and that was fun. Like that was one of my favorite episodes to play.
Great actress.
Yeah. Elle Scott. She's amazing, and just getting more of Jordan's backstory. That is what I was excited to kind of, start sprinkling in too, because I think I want to know more about her too. We're on the ride with our characters as we're playing these roles too, and we get to learn new things as we get the scripts as well. So it's fun.
I also just have to say that I love watching all the comedy you do. Like you're so funny and comedic, and so when you get to have those like fun little silly like banter moments,
you and
it's
Noah
always
together, it's really
it's
fun
ridiculous.
to watch. Yeah.
It's
The
kind
crazy
of
thing
like
is season 4, they did not put me and Noah together. It was like me and Summer, or me and Brian and Noah, and Summer and Brian. And then all of a sudden it was like, okay, we got to put these two together. Let's see what's going to happen. And then it was like, oh. And it's like, that's how we are in real life too. That's why it's really fun to just go back and forth.
You're clowns.
Yeah, clowns.
You clowns.
Yeah.
Well, that leads to actually a question I got from someone on Twitter who wanted to know what either character or actor have you not been able to work with a lot that you would like to work with more on the show?
You're first.
Whoever wants to go first. The pressure's on.
I actually don't get to work a lot with these two, I feel like, especially this season, but maybe it just felt like this season maybe. But I would love to work more with these two ladies. Yeah, that's my answer.
I agree. I did.
Now
Yeah.
I feel like you all have to say that.
Right.
I'm like, why would you do
I
that?
was just waiting to see what she said. No, but I mean, we got to do some really great stuff together this season, but we have not worked together much since season 2 when I
one
saved her
scene.
life. And she still hasn't thanked
She
me.
wants me
thank
to
you.
thank her.
Dr. Resnick has not been thanked
Not
by
gonna
Dr.
do it.
Lim. But anyways, I just.
But you're
for
thanking
the
her with a
record.
trip to Paris,
Yes.
right?
There you go.
But
Sure.
but we haven't gotten to do it.
I think for me,
on camera.
I like my scenes with Paige a lot. I love Paige. And I like the friendship that they're building with Jordan and Leah. And so I think I would want to work more with her. I was very upset that I was not there for the birth. I said, now hold on. Love ain't that strong now. There's a baby. Right, I was with
You were the only
Perez
one not there.
eating sherbet. Why y'all?
Well, he
Yeah.
chose not
I
to.
wanted to be
He was
there.
invited. You weren't even invited.
Wasn't even invited.
Uh-oh.
I think there's beef. I don't know. Maybe there's a Jordan and Leah beef. I don't know.
We have some letters to write.
Well, Bria, I know you touched on this previously when you were talking about your character. I wanted to hear from all of y'all about what it's like portraying these roles that maybe aren't the stereotypical female roles on TV, like the pride in that, and how you feel about being a part of a show that's celebrating these roles.
Christina, you got to go first because.
I'm the oldest.
I can go first. Too.
I feel great pride getting to play a person that happens to look like me. I think we've said this before. I'm happy to say it again. I was just recently asked this question, what did you watch growing up, and did somebody kind of like look like you? And I made the joke, well, I was born in 1850, so we didn't even have TV then. And then in all seriousness, no, growing up, I did not see anybody looking like this, playing a boss even, right? Like, let alone. So I feel really honored and proud to play the chief of surgery, and that she's such a cool, smart, for lack of a better word, strong, but is vulnerable and of course flawed, but also ultimately, you know, looking for love in all the wrong places.
Come on now. Say it.
Yeah, I feel very proud to play Dr. Lim.
Yeah, I think for Jordan, when I booked the job during the pandemic, and I remember getting the breakdown, the casting breakdown. It was like, it said, full-figured, proud, confident. And I just remember reading that, and then it said Baptist, like devout Christian. And I was like, I have never seen a breakdown like this, just like describing a Black woman on TV. Like, it's usually like plus size, insecure, plus size, like can't find love. And when I saw that, I was like, this sounds like me. I was like, okay, this is gonna be easy to put on tape. And then when I booked it, it was different because I was like, we haven't done this before. Like this doesn't happen, often. And I'm just happy that there was space made for that and that character. And like I said again, like because of the presence, and when you see these women on TV and on your screens, like it does something. Like, and like to this day, like in 2023, still getting messages saying I haven't seen this before. Like, thank you for being that representation. I do feel like the pressure is on to continue to bring the nuance and the other layers that's beyond the page, because there's not many. And so it's an honor. It really is an honor. And like, I think there are moments I have to remind myself, like, this is bigger than me. Like, this whole thing is bigger than me, and someone needs to see me, because when growing up, I only had like the Danielle Brooks, I only had the Natalie DeSales, I only had Monique, I only had Gabourey Sidibe, and those were the ones I could hold on to, Jennifer Hudson. And so I hope to be in that number, as I continue my career, where another chunky, dark-skinned Black woman girl is watching TV and happens to see my face, to know like, oh, I can do that. Like, that's what it's about.
I don't want to leave you out if you have anything to add.
Having these strong, intelligent women on TV, it's such an honor to get to play a role like that. For so many years when I started out acting, the parts for women were just so underwritten. You were there to support the men, especially in comedy, which is where I was before this. And it was always like, you're there to be the straight person to set the guys up, or you're there to be the nagging wife or the unhappy girlfriend. There was nothing there, and it was so frustrating. And it was like hard to get passionate or excited about a lot of parts. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like it's been really cool over the last 10 years or so to see that kind of shift. I remember once I was told on a show, I was confused about why my character was doing something. And I asked the showrunner, I was like, well, why is she doing this? And he's like, because that's what women do. And that was a response, and I was just like livid. And I was not happy about that. But it's like, there was this, because so many of the writers for so long were just men, and that's what and you had the producers were just men, and all the way up to the top, it was like their perception of women or what was going on in their lives, and that's what was reflected on TV. And it's been so incredible, though, to see that shift. And like for me, the past 3 series I was able to be a part of, they were actually all Sony shows, and it was great because it was one day at a time, strong female cast, and then Daytime Divas, all female cast, and then this. And it's empowering, like the way the character has affected me and my own ability to embrace my assets and not feel like I have to apologize for everything, because I feel like as women, we're taught to say sorry for everything. And it was really, when I booked this job, to have David Shore talk about her and say, she's proud. She's proud of what she's accomplished, and she's worked hard for where she is, and she's overcome a lot, and to see that as an asset, when so often as women those are labeled as negatives or things that we shouldn't. Men are praised for acting that way, but women aren't. It was very emotional, and it made me. I had to do, when I was like trying to work on Morgan and be like, oh, how, because she's different from me as a person. And so understanding why I am the way I am about certain things, and how much I allow society to affect me as a person. And
she's very unapologetic.
Yeah, she's unapologetic. And so it's a very, it's changed me as a person and allowed me to embody some of those characteristics more. And so I think that it's just so cool to be a part of a show that works so hard to create these strong women. And it's not about strong women, they just are in that world and they're created that way. And it's changing people's lives. Like, it's changing the lives of women out there, girls like that are growing up seeing it. And so that impact is amazing. And
there was a conversation we had in the room in the early part of last season, because we were talking about, in this one particular day, we were talking about Christina's arc, and she was angry. She was angry at Sean Murphy because he chose the surgery that left her paralyzed. And the conversation was very divided in the room between the men feeling like, she's really angry. Is she too angry? And the women, like, oh, I mean, it was almost divided by gender of going, absolutely not. She might not be angry enough. Like, this man has left her paralyzed by a choice, and he does not seem to understand what he's done to her. Yes, she's angry, and it's okay that she is. And it was one of my favorite storylines that we did last year, and it was one of my favorite portrayals because I felt like it was so relatable. Like, yes, every time you saw his face, you would want to slap his face. Or you would just want that moment from him to say, I'm sorry, or yes, I acknowledge I did this to you. And then that's when we can, show what it's like for a person with autism to understand, like, I made the best choice. This was the best choice. Why should I apologize? And it was just it was like a perfect intersection to me of what the show can do so well. It can hold multiple topics at once and show you each the point of view, and you think you are on Murphy's side in a moment, and then you hear Dr. Lim's argument, and then you think, oh no, she's absolutely right. And I think that's where the show is at its very best.
And what's also nice is then I saw the conversation, it happened to be on Twitter. I very rarely read all these, but I was like, oh, this is kind of intriguing. And there was a conversation that was sparked by when that episode aired of how angry I was. And they were really kind of divided as well. And I didn't notice the genders. I didn't, but it seemed sort of 50% were like, what's her problem? He saved her life, and he's the right guy. And then it's, are you kidding me? Look what he did to her. She, she should be mad, And so what happened in the writer's room played out also after it aired, right?
Those scenes were so beautiful between you two. It was such great work.
Well, that leads into my next question, which, if you would like to start, Erin, about how being a woman in the business, obviously balancing it all, something we've talked about for years, but also, do you feel you have to argue harder for things than the men? Do you feel like you're judged more for things that you want or things that you do than your male counterparts? And the same thing as both actors and real life women.
If Liz Friedman were sitting here, she and I would have very different opinions about this. She would say, absolutely, it's because of our gender. And I say, well, I don't know if it's always because of our gender. I think sometimes someone has a really terrible argument or they have a really good argument. Both are true. Both are true. And I think we need to remember we can hold both and, and hopefully not pin it on our gender. But I don't know. The answer is I don't know, because I'm not in the shoes of anybody else. I'm only in my shoes, and I only know how hard I work. It's a really difficult question for me to answer. Probably yes. I mean, I think I will just speak for myself, probably have had to work harder than perhaps some male counterparts. And I think but I do think that's changing. I mean, I think when I came into the business, there were a lot of female executives, and I was very lucky that I got to look up to them. And I never had a female boss, though. I've always had male bosses, and both named David. So I don't know what that's, but I know it's very strange. It's easy. I don't have to remember a new name. But I had great female role models. I mean, I got my start in this business because I interned for two women who ran a company. and who said, like, you need to work in this business and you need to work in TV and not motion pictures because you're very hyper and you like things to move fast, and like features is going to drive you crazy, and we will hire you when you're out of college. So it was just, and they gave me backstage access to what it took to be an executive and ultimately a producer. And I was told very early on, this job does not exist that you want. Non-writing producer, as a woman, that's not really a job. And then I thought, well, that's the exact job I want. So so I created it. So you figure it out, and you work day and night and you get it done. But this is also a business of people who work hard. So that is not like an exceptional thing to do. But yes, I've had no problems. This is fun. I feel like I sit in a very privileged position, and I recognize that. But there are these things that Liz and I and other women will joke about, of like, oh, all those guys went on a golf trip. Not a woman was invited, or they're in the box of the sports game, and you look up at the box and it's all men. And it's even like that a little bit now, and it's a little cringy to me, to be honest. It's like, oh. And then we had sort of a ladies hangout, like a Good Doctor ladies hangout. And a couple of the guys were like, well, why weren't we invited? And it was like, I don't know, I guess you don't run it, so you weren't invited, And it's all love and good, so it's a little bit of fair ribbing, but, I don't, that's a very nebulous answer to your question, but,
I think the reason that you're feeling that way too is because it's going to be a different answer because of all the variables involved, right? It's generational. It's also our ethnicity. Some people, you feel that you are in a privileged position. Other people will say, I had to work really hard to get where I am. And you're right, working hard is not exceptional in this business. That is why we're all here. Persistence and grit is why we're here. Whether you're male or female, it's just it takes longer because of age, ethnicity, whatnot. But I would say being a woman in this business, for me, even though I am sitting in this position right now, and I feel very grateful, and I am in certain privilege, was harder probably for, say, my generation than someone who looks like me who's 20 years younger than me. Do you know? I'm not saying I paved the way for them, but there were certainly less women a little older than me in our business. You know what I mean? That are a little bit older. And then now there's more of us at my age and even more younger. And so it is a layered answer. But I think
100%.
Yes,
I think that women have to work harder.
It's tough.
How many roles are there for women over 40 versus men over 40? How are women treated and viewed in society? As an actress, we're there an hour.
The pay
is not equal. It's not equal. And even if the pay was equal for the same part, women are there an hour and a half to 2 hours earlier to do hair and makeup. You're there longer at the end of the night. You're expected to upkeep your appearance more than men are. And there's less work. I was so proud, first of all, of what Disney just did with The Little Mermaid, the remake. It was amazing. But the fact that they changed the Scuttle character and had it a female. You have Awkwafina playing the voice. When I saw the Mario movie, I was so excited that they had a strong female princess, she was brave, but all the other characters were men. And so if men continue to have more opportunities, they're gonna excel faster than women will if we're all fighting for the same part. And I think, so I 100% think it's harder for women in this industry and in most industries. I can't believe that I'm still fighting for some of the same rights and equality that my mom fought for 30 years ago, and listening to her and seeing her struggles as a single parent. And then we go through them, and it's so we're just, fighting to change those things for our kids.
Yeah, that's right. And also actually surgeons, and we obviously play surgeons, but then real female surgeons do also make less than male surgeons, period.
Well, and they're treated differently. I actually just posted something on Instagram in my stories that I saw, just about how women doctors are treated differently, and how, the things that they're said, lower your voice, you sound shrill, things like that. Well, I'll tell you, I actually prefer seeing women doctors, because I find that sometimes like I'm often as a woman, like you talk to a doctor and they brush you off and they just think you're overreacting, and that's as a white woman, and as a Black woman, it's even worse. I mean, the discrepancies, like the mortality rate for Black women in our country is just, it's out of control. And it's so, I mean, and we talked about that on the show. I mean, we did an episode on that, and Erin helped make that happen. And, you know, it's so, but it's still a fight.
I'll try to keep my answer short, but no, you're fine. Because it's a loaded question, but I feel like we're all very different, and so our experiences are different, and so we respect each other's experiences. But yes, like I feel like every day is a fight. I'm fighting every day to just exist, because I'm a woman, because I'm a Black woman, because I'm a dark-skinned Black woman, because I'm a dark-skinned fat Black woman. It's a lot of things. It's a lot. Once you add these layers in, it gets even harder, the struggle. So for it to still be like, wow, there's a Black woman doctor that looks like me on the show, it's still a thing. Like that's still like, wow, I didn't even know she was there. Like some people like start to tune in like, oh, when did she come? This is new. But I mean, it's just a struggle to exist, and like, especially in this industry, is really hard. Like, it's really, really, really hard. And because I love what I do so much, I stay the course. Like, it's yeah.
That's right.
And like, honestly, me and some of my sisters, we say, look, the privileges, the opportunities, the way the red carpet is laid out for mediocre white men is crazy. Like the way mediocre white men can just be at the top and just lead everyone and make these huge decisions, and they're mediocre. But when I come into the room, I have to be excellent. Like I don't get to be a human. I'm either a superhero or I'm subhuman. And so when I'm like allowed to bring the nuances and show the different flavors and colors that, hey, like I'm not perfect either. I don't always have to be excellent every day, and I should still be able to get the same kind of love, the same appreciation, the same care, the same attention as a mediocre white man. That's what I'm trying to fight for. Like, I want what the mediocre white man got. Like, I want seriously, because they're not working hard. They don't bring anything to the table. They're not smarter than us. They're not brighter than us. Their worldview is so freaking tiny, and they get to make these decisions about people that look like us and what our characters do, and they have never had to sit in a room with us. They've never had to talk with us. They never had to even be a part of our culture. We're taught to learn white people like, a white person they don't have to learn us. They don't have to learn women. White men don't have to get to know what a woman, what the nuances of a woman and her lived experiences. So then when you add the other layers, they don't get the pressure of having to learn the world, and their worldview is so tiny. And then we're like trying to come and saying, hey, I'm human too. How? What do you mean? And that's what we're fighting. That's what each of us are fighting in our own way and in our own lived experiences. So, and the crazy thing is, I have mentors in this industry that are like A-listers, and they're still fighting. For Niecy Nash to have to bring in her team to tell them that she's not just a comedic actress, that she can also do drama, to tell the people she pays that she wants to audition and be considered for dramatic roles. And they're like, okay, we'll give you a chance. We'll see what. And then now she's a Critic Choice Award winner for a dramatic piece. Like, she's in these movies and in these shows, and she's in her 50s, and she's been in the game for 20 plus years, still having to fight. So I already know that because of her, the pavement's a little smoother, but there's gonna be some rocks on the way. I'm still gonna have to fight every time to fit in these small-minded spaces.
More women at the table, in the position to make decisions. Yeah.
So when you are struggling personally with a lot of these issues and any other kind of issue, where do you find inspiration? What helps you stay the course? What helps you keep going?
I mean, the love, like when we're on hiatus, like I go home and I'm from Richmond, Virginia, and I'm still in the house that I grew up in. And I remember talking to my therapist last week because I was like, I want to, be a creator. Like I want to be the next Quinta and Michaela Cole. And she was like, well, do you think you need to like go to a cafe to write and to get more inspiration and creativity? And first I was like, maybe I should leave the house to get more inspiration. And then I remembered, I was like, wait, this little small bedroom was my first playground. That's when I started like talking to myself as a kid, playing these different characters in my head, thinking I was a teacher, thinking I was a journalist, like making up all of these make-believe stories. And I was like, if I could manifest who I am now, like I knew I was going to be on TV some kind of way in this room, then I can continue to go on in this room. And so I feel like my home grounds me and inspires me. I feel like the same way when Black women stop me and tell me that my presence alone like brings joy to them, that these Black women doctors out here are like, well, wow, seeing you is like, it just inspires me. I can't believe like you look just like me. I love the way you dress. I love your hair. And that keeps me going. And it keeps me, it keeps reminding me that I am standing in my purpose. And like, I'm opening doors, I'm inspiring someone else. And I think that's the paying it forward keeps me inspired, but also seeing the lack of like, we're doing good, but we could do so much better, that I know that like, I want to be a part of the answer of that. So that's what keeps me going.
I agree. Yeah, I think that's right. And I think, yes, hearing from fans, which is your point of being inspired, and some will say like, oh, Dr. Lim has inspired me to go to medical school, or I was thinking of quitting and I love your character so much. I want to be you. And that's very, very inspiring. And it's not ego like, oh, yay me. It's more like, oh God, that's I love doing.
Yeah. We're on TV being like BP dropping. And you don't know that's doing something for somebody.
That's right.
I don't, you're just like in it, you're like, okay, all right. And you have 5 months left. Like, like we're just doing that every day. We're saying these big words.
5 months left?
We have 5 months left. Sorry. And then all of a sudden you're like, that BP dropping. That's what did it for me. You're
that's
like,
right.
That's what did it for you.
That's
cool.
Right.
Thank you.
That's right. That person was like, you said that, and that's what kept me going. Okay.
Well, I will tell you all that I do get inspiration from good stories and watching TV, and your show is a show that I can watch and have my cry and then be like, I got to get off my ass and go do something. Like I got to get stuff done. Yeah. So I appreciate you all for that. Wow. Let's talk about season 7 now, where you want things to go. We don't know probably where things are going at the moment, but I would love to hear from all of you, and Erin too, about the other characters that aren't here, where we're headed.
Erin?
Dreams. I have so many dreams for you ladies.
I want to pitch.
Tell us what they are. Where are we going? Where are we going?
For starters, I was like, please make Morgan and Park get together. I want their love story to happen. So I, just as a fan, was celebrating when, because I'll always go into the room and make my wishes known, or I think this works, and here's why.
And when I read that in the script, because we don't know, we're not kidding when we say we don't know. The script arrives and we're like, huh? So when I read that, I was like, wait, what?
I know, I had no idea they were getting back together.
I didn't either.
I did not see that, because on the show, they're always like, wherever you think it's going to go, they just go somewhere else. That's kind of the thing.
Just doesn't happen.
I was like, well, they're not going to get together. I kind of thought maybe they would help raise the kid together and there would be something like that, but like I didn't think they would actually.
I couldn't believe when you guys said, I love you too. And I was like, oh my God.
I know. When I read the script, I was like, ah!
I know. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. So personally, I have hopes and dreams for all of you. I mean, I love when you're in trauma. I love when you not personally. No. I love
Christina.
when she's in the trauma bay. I like when you are in a trauma bay, because there's something about you when you climb on top of a patient and I'm like, yes, that is like Lim with her like badass energy and her like barking orders.
With you, those scenes give me hives.
Really?
I get so nervous in those scenes.
Oh God, you're so good.
They're the best. They're the best.
Well, we're gonna write more. We're gonna write more. Wait, yeah, but why not?
I'll take them. I love them. I love the ER scenes.
Love the ER scenes.
It's so nervous.
But like, I want you to have I want you to like have a good personal life. That would be my dream. I want you to be with a man who deserves you and who, just someone.
Tom Cruise.
He's at home. We haven't figured that out. We got to figure that out. But
he's at home.
But yeah, I just think that would be exciting for you, and and then I just love the turn for Morgan of like, you think she's one thing and now she gets another, and she gets to experience parenthood and motherhood, but totally on her terms, where she's like, here, take the baby, I gotta go. Like, here,
I gotta work.
I just like seeing it from your character's point of view, I think is gonna be really exciting, because I think it will be different than what most people think of as motherhood, or kind of single motherhood, with Park sort of in the wings, ready to help.
Yeah.
And Jordan, I just want, like, I think they've done such great things with your character so far, like the celibacy journey, like and that beautiful episode when you convinced that woman to please have the abortion because she was dying. I think that was like your finest work on the show to date. And it makes me excited for like what will be talked about in the room when we're finally able to gather in a room again and get the writers working. But like, I just think there's more interesting stuff there for you too. And I don't think it always has to sort of revolve around a man, and maybe it will and maybe it won't. But like, I just want to explore you as full women outside and inside of relationships, but like who you are. So I don't know what season 7 is going to bring, but those are the dreams that I have for your characters that I'm excited to talk to Liz and David and the other writers about.
Anything to add?
I mean, look, Jordan has 5 brothers, and I would love to see that. Like, I would love to see family. I love when family gets to come on the show. I think Noah had a great episode, the finale of season 5, and just watching that origin story for Asher was beautiful. And I'm like, okay, each person needs to have something. Like, we need to see who, their foundation. And I think like the episode with my grandmother visiting was great. I did love that that scene with that. I don't know. That was a fun day, even though it was like the saddest, like probably monologue, but it was fun to play as an actor. Those are the kind of scenes, the abortion monologue. It was so sad. It was like so sad, but the guest star was so great to play with.
Malloway. She was amazing,
great. And
amazing.
It was just
actress.
fun to like sink my teeth in that kind of story that didn't revolve around a man, that didn't revolve around this like cat and mouse thing. And so
if a really fine situation showed up, you wouldn't say no.
No, I would say
Thank you. Let's just be clear.
Really fun situation. Let's just be clear.
I'm gonna stop talking.
All right, I'm going to ask a few fun questions. And
Yes,
give the
come
audience
on, let's
some
get
time to come
fun.
up with something to ask. So, since this is a TV festival, what is your favorite TV show of all time?
Okay, that's a hard question.
One comedy, one drama, maybe. We've had people pull that trick.
Okay, The Office is my favorite comedy, hands down.
What was your answer?
The Office.
American or British?
American. Okay. That is my favorite comedy. I watched it when I was in grad school and I was depressed. And I was like, what's on Netflix that has a lot of seasons? Because I don't want to be here. And it was The Office. I was like, what is this? And I fell in love. I've watched it 100 times. And that's my favorite comedy. I feel like right now my favorite drama, I kind of have to eye roll, but Succession. But there's nobody that looks like me on the show. But beautiful work. And they sealed it nicely.
But it's also a comedy. In a way.
It is a comedy.
It's a drama, but they have so many comedic. It's so because these people are so really absurd.
And I like when you can bring the drama in with the comedy.
Yeah. Severance.
Severance.
I really like Severance.
That was. Pen 15 is one of my favorite comedies too. The
best.
Yeah.
That show.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean,
I
I can't just name 2 of all time. I love TV. All I ever wanted to do was work in TV. So I love so much
made your
TV.
dreams come true.
I made my dreams come true. I would say recently I was just obsessed with Shrinking. I thought that show was absolutely incredible, and the way they balanced heart and like what they were talking about, and having my own personal journey through loss and all of that. Like, it just touched home so much. It just was amazing. So I mean, it's emotional. Like, I loved it. I truly, truly think
Ted
that show
Lasso.
is amazing.
Ted Lasso.
The other 2. I Hate Susie. I watch a lot of TV.
Okay,
many
best
shows.
TV show theme song.
Three's
Mary
Company.
Tyler Moore.
Would
Three's
you
Mary
Mary
Tyler Moore. Mary Tyler Moore.
Living
This world,
single.
would you?
Living single. Yeah, Living Single is the best
Living
one. You
Single.
dance every time you hear it. Living Single.
Which one? Living
Living
Single?
Single.
Oh, right. Okay. What about Three's Company? Do you remember that? Or am I too? I'm old.
Oh no, Succession. No, Succession for me. I love the theme song for Succession.
What
I
about
actually
the theme
listened
song
to
for The Good
soundtrack.
Doctor. Dun, dun, dun.
You know what? Fun fact, I got my brother to, my brother's a music producer, and I was gonna do a rap for season 6, and I was like, yo, you know, get the beat a little, you know, put a little bass with the beat. And so he did remix the Good Doctor theme song. I have to write my rap first, and then it'll come out.
Spoken word right there.
She's
All
quite
right,
good, actually.
And if you had a theme song, so any song, you walk into the room, you know, you're a baseball player, they play a song when you walk up. What is
I
it?
got it. I'm That Girl by Beyonce. That is my song. That would be my theme song. It's a good song. It's not the diamonds, it's not the pearls. I'm that girl.
Didn't you ask the crew to sing that to you at Rap this year?
Yes, and they didn't do it right. I sent them a voice note and I said, this is what I want you to do. It's not the diamonds. 1, 2, 3, 4. I sent it to the entire crew. And so when they rapped me, it was like, somebody was like, you're that girl. And I was like, y'all had one job.
They have a lot of jobs, and they're tired.
And I sent it to them right before lunch. So while they were eating their food,
They're tired. Rapping you out. Get her out of there.
I don't know. It's too
When
much
Dr. Lim
pressure.
walks into surgery, it's probably like Metallica. For sure.
Well, now I just keep thinking of you climbing on top of the patient. Metallica. All right. Anybody in the audience have a question? Bring you a mic.
Hi, I'm Sarah. Thank you for being here.
Hello.
Have you ever been playing a character and felt like you were given a scene or a moment or a line even that was something that just felt like a stereotype, felt like it wasn't a thing you would really say in that situation? And have you, had a moment where you've battled for changing a moment, a line, something like that? And what was the reaction? And what's something that you're proud of for being able to kind of maybe guide that? Or is that just something you can't really do? And how has that gone for you?
Well, I answered that earlier.
You did.
But I will say on our show, we don't really, that doesn't really, it hasn't come up for me much, but if there ever is like a line or something, we're like, it doesn't quite feel like me or what, it is really great because we can email like the writers and just talk to them and they're like, they'll call us or it's really nice on our show. Like we do have that open line of communication and sometimes they'll talk to us about why they chose that and they don't agree and so you don't win, but sometimes you do, so.
Yeah, I think there were some moments that, it happens for everyone, there are moments sometimes when I'm reading, I'm like, she would not say that. And so I'll email the writer, I'll email the showrunner and just like say, hey, can we hop on a Zoom call? It is always awkward because you just don't know how people are going to respond. You don't want to be disrespectful either. So you're like trying to like balance the line. But once I tell them why and culturally give them, information, they're open to it. And they're open, there are moments where it's like, thank you, we did not know that. And so those are which I think I encourage more of that, especially with TV as well, because you don't know. And if someone's writing your character that does not look like you, those moments are going to happen. Like, it's just going to happen. It's inevitable.
Same.
Anybody else? Kat? I knew. I can read mine, so I knew her name.
Oh, yeah.
I have a two-part question. I have a creative question. Since you are going into your 7th season, I'm curious about how do you maintain like the heart and the through line of the story while bringing in new recurring characters that kind of reinvigorate and bring new storylines. And then with those recurring characters, some continue on and some don't. One example was Savannah Welch, who's an Austin actress.
Yeah,
and
she
played,
is. She's a local.
Yes, dear friend and loved her storyline and brought something different, a different perspective into the show. But how do you decide which story, is it a chemistry thing? Like which stories continue on and which run their course, and how do you maintain the through line? And then the second question is, are there any storylines that didn't play out for the actresses that you would have loved to have explored or were curious about? I wonder where that would have gone had we dug into that, if there were an opportunity to dig into that more.
There's never enough time, right? You want 50 episodes to be able to do it all and explore everything that you love. It's hard, and it is a juggle, you know. The first part of your first question, I think it's just the like the heart and the soul. It's really, you just have to get specific about the characters so they don't just become sort of general. It's what is the story? What is their personal story, whoever's coming onto the show? And then what is their conflict with one of our main characters? Because that's where we're going to get story from. And so, who stays and who goes? There's no one reason why someone goes. Some actors want to go, and we don't want them to go, but they go, and so we have to write them off. And then other times, the writers have sort of explored the main parts of why they brought a character onto the show, and it served the show, and they feel like those stories have wrapped up, so they move those characters along. It's never easy, I can tell you that. These are deeply emotional decisions that we talk about in the room, and like tears are shed oftentimes when a character goes on the show. Nobody is written on or off without deep consideration and thought for, have we maximized everything? Is there more to do there? And it's sad when people go. You do have to keep the show fresh, though. It's like the hard thing of like, you have to bring in new people and find new stories and new avenues to explore.
And to answer the second part of your question, I would love to see Morgan doing surgery again, just because I'm a super nerd and I always really liked doing it. And it was also just fun getting to interact with everyone in those scenes, because I definitely feel like I sometimes am in my own space. So that's one thing that, maybe if Sean Murphy cured Dr. Lemmy can cure Morgan Resnick, and I can play with all those cool, gross models again, because it was fun.
I would have liked to, or maybe we can revisit it again, the PTSD. I think that's something that it didn't go away. We're just not talking about it. But, it's rich. There's a lot there that I would like to explore if possible.
But also, I think one thing that's interesting, though, is that like when they do having different topics come and different storylines, it allows for different people to connect to the show. So if we have lots of different things, and it's like a slice that you see. And then what's so great about the show is that it's about sparking conversation. And in a time, especially when our country's so divided, rather than coming on and telling a storyline and being like, this is our point of view, this is our perspective, this is right, this is the only answer. It's like, no, we're gonna fairly, the writers work so hard to fairly and to show both sides of the story. Like with the abortion episode, it was like, we're gonna do our own twist on it, and just get people talking about it. And so I think by having lots of different different things that happen to all the different characters, it allows for that conversation to happen. So,
well, I think that's about time. Oh, we have one quick one. Does somebody have one that doesn't have a 10-minute answer? We can do it. Sorry. Oh, Tanya.
I have the mic. Too late. No, I wanted to just ask y'all just how important it is, and I know you kind of touched on it just now, but to kind of incorporate social and political things that are happening within the real world into something like this. And I know you mentioned the mortality rate for Black women. How important is it to you have this platform, but to really reel it into what women and everyone else in this country is dealing with, especially when it comes to their medical needs?
I mean, that's a good smart room is going to do that. Everyone is bringing their own stories when we start the room, when we start a season. Every single person in that room is bringing something that's interesting to them. And then it's like you throw it all out there, and it's like, what feels good to talk about right now? What should we tackle? And not to check a box or to like have an agenda, but like, what are these characters going through? And then what is going on in the world? And are there things that you can marry up together and then get into it? And then it's absolutely imperative on the show that you look at it from both sides. Like, we never want to preach. We never want to go, see, we're right, over here we're right. It's like, we want a character doing that, but then we want another character coming in and saying, well, hold on a second, what about that? You know, that for us is a productive room, and that's a great storyline when we can get two characters arguing a point of view.
But also unexpected characters too. I mean, with the Black mortality rate one, that was one that I sent you the article at the end of season 1, and then she sent it to the writers for season 2, and then it wasn't until season 4 that they were able to find a way to bring it in naturally and like make it work. And then it was so interesting too, because then it was with Dr. Brown, and so it was a really interesting spin on that. And it wasn't, I mean, and you guys it's just you find ways to do it naturally and in unique ways.
All right, we're doing one more quick right here. We're just gonna keep pushing it till they tell me stop.
So you referenced earlier, it's like, as media shows you what can be, it starts to learn. So I've switched all my doctors and healthcare providers to women, especially women of color. And I've literally walked in and said, if you can't be as strong as Dr. Lynn in a surgical room, I don't want you touching me. So how has, and Dr. Bailey, all the like really strong women, how has being in this show and being an advocate on the show caused you to change your advocacy for yourself and your medical care? Like, do you go in and say, I know you can do it, or not at all?
Well, yes, I'm inspired by my character. I think I had to advocate for my mom, who went through a long journey with Alzheimer's. And that sort of informed what I was doing on the show as Dr. Lim, and then also how Dr. Lim has been written also sort of helped inform how I advocated for my mom. And so art imitated life and life imitated art. And of course it has a strong influence on the way that I perceive things in the health industry. It's not going to be 10 minutes long. So that's the bullet point. But yes, it has shifted how I see things and how I behave. Yep.
Well, now I have officially been given the wrap up. So I wish that we could chat. She says one more. Oh.
I need to know about your shoes.
Wait, that's a good question. I got them from Pretty Little Things, and they were very, cheap, and they were cute, and like they're easy to walk in. Yeah, thank you.
All right, that's it. That's it, folks.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very
much.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Excited to see next season, and thank you to Sony Pictures Television and ABC for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you
very much. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you so much, everybody.